Welcome to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger. For the next hour, you'll hear proven methods for how to live the multiple income streams dream. Ryan is passionate about helping others discover their gifts and start their own business. He's published 5 books, and his courses and group coaching programs have changed the lives of thousands of students all over the world. Ryan's books include Private Label, The Easy Way, Finding Your Grace Place, and his latest, Streams of Income. And now, here's your host, Ryan Rieger.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Streams of Income radio show. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger, and outsourcing is today's topic. And I have a fun conversation with 2 of my virtual assistants, Zech and Jasmine. They're in the Philippines. And what you don't see about my business is that I know you mostly see me out in the open, but behind me is an awesome team of people that help me do what I do. And in fact, even this podcast right here is being edited by my friend Rose in the Philippines. And Jasmine also does some of the work on my podcast. She's one of my guests today. But if you want to grow your business, at some point, just like Jimmy talks about, my friend Jimmy Smith, when he and Brittany started their Amazon business, there was a point, I think it was like $25,000 or maybe it was 40 for them, where they did not seem that they could get over that hump with the jobs that they had. And so they had to do something. And so that's when Jimmy quit his job and started hiring people and all that. And so that's enabled them to grow their business significantly. And so there's going to be some point to where you hit a ceiling of the efforts that you're able to put in and what those results are. And so I seriously recommend looking into hiring VAs for about any type of thing you could ever need in your business. If you're selling products online, they're awesome at finding products for sourcing, for opening up wholesale accounts, doing back-end Amazon work. They can make calls for you, take calls for you, do customer service. They do a lot of things in my business that allows me and frees me up to only work on those things that only I can do. Now, I'm not perfect in this. There are definitely still things in my business that I shouldn't be touching, but I do. And I'm working at getting better at that and offloading a lot of those things and delegating those things to my VAs. But if you're looking to expand your business and you've thought about hiring virtual assistants, this episode is very practical, step by step on how to find them, what to pay them, how to pay them, all the jobs that they can do. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me, ryan@ryanrieger.com. And if you're in Legends, you have access to our legendary VA service where we actually will find them for you, train them for you, and you can and get one of our VAs. Also, we have a VA sharing service inside our Legends program as well. So if you aren't quite ready to take on the responsibility or the extra expense of having a VA all to yourself, you can share one with 4 other people, and that's available in our Legends group currently. At some point, I do believe we're going to expand that out, but right now it's just a perk for the Legends members. So all those links will be in the show notes there, even a free or a $1 trial for Legends as well. But here is my fun interview with Zech and Jasmine. All right, Zech, Jasmine, welcome to Streams of Income. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great.
Good. Thank you. Wow. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Philippines.
That's right. So as obviously I've mentioned in the introduction that these are my friends, they're VAs, they work for me, but they become friends. And I've actually had the opportunity to meet Zech and his sister in person. Now this is his girlfriend, Jasmine, but they work in our organization, Legendary VAs, and also Jasmine does some extra work for me for social media stuff and working on some social media projects together with some other people in my mastermind group. But today we just wanted to chat about virtual assistants because I get lots of questions from business owners that want to know how to outsource their business, how to expand their business. And one great way to do it is hiring VAs. And there are VAs all over the world. People, and there's in pretty much any country, you can find probably somebody that can do work for you online. But for some reason, there are just a lot of them in the Philippines. Let's start there. Why are there so many virtual assistants? Like you start typing in virtual assistants, guys, and Philippines comes up all the time. Any ideas why that is? I mean, I have reasons. I know a lot of reasons why Filipinos are great for this type of work. And we can definitely go into that. But why are there so many there as opposed to, another Southeast Asian country?
Well, for me personally, knowing Filipinos is that Filipinos are hardworking,
Mm-hmm.
first, trustworthy, and they're happy regardless of how big or how little you pay them. So
Yeah.
those are, I'd say, are the positive traits
Mm-hmm.
of Filipinos, and that's the reason that a lot of Filipinos, a lot of Filipinos are virtual assistants.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do a Google search, that's also one thing. Like it comes up first, if not, in the top three, the Filipinos are, the usual virtual assistants.
Yeah. And then you guys also have a lot of call centers and things, don't you?
That's also one thing. So a lot of call center agents who are Filipinos have
Mhm.
switched to working at home, which which made them a virtual assistant.
Yeah. Are there still call centers right now happening and people still getting in their cars or going on their motorcycles and going into call centers right now with what's going on?
There is. Now, because of the pandemic, I think it's kind of like 50-50.
Okay.
So 50% is working on site and the other 50 are working at home or
Able to
working
work
from
from
home.
home. Take calls at home. Okay. Take calls or make calls.
Mhm.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Something to say?
So let's go into your stories. I want to hear your story, and then we'll go into some of the questions that we get that we see all the time, like how to find a VA, where to go online, how much to pay them, how do you know that they're doing the work, what are the types of jobs. So we're just kind of some of the basics of virtual assistants and all that. But let's go into your story. So Zech, why don't you start first? Tell just briefly who you are, your work history, and then just how you got hooked up with me and how working from home has been a blessing for you.
Okay, so first thing, my name is Zach. It's actually not my real name. Just call me Zach. Well, I started working in a call center industry. What is more commonly known here as business process outsourcing.
Okay.
So I might have, if you called in before in a customer service setting or technical support, you might have spoken with me. I'm not totally sure, but that's always a possibility. So, I've been in that industry for roughly 8 years.
Okay.
And all the way it works here is that traffic is your number one enemy in terms of going to work daily.
Mm.
So after 7 or 8 years, I decided to try my luck and start working at home, because back then, maybe about I stopped 2014, maybe about 2013 or 2012-ish, I started hearing about work from home setting or virtual assistants.
Yeah.
But I was, kind of scared, or I'm not confident enough to do that.
Sure.
But come 2014, I took a leap of faith, and that's how I got here. Well, initially it wasn't working out so well that I thought of just going back and working in a call center. But through perseverance, and I'd say trusting the process, it got me to where I am today. And all of those years since 2014, or make that, I'd say about early 2015, I was working already with Ryan without his knowledge.
Right. So someone else was managing that whole
someone else was managing the group. So I was working for him and his partners since then. And three or about 2 years after, I get to meet Ryan. Not really meet as in physically, but we get to talk, and we get to meet via Zoom or via webinar or video chat. And that's where we started in terms of thinking what we can do, what other things we can offer, and all that. So if just imagine that's already 6 years.
Wow.
6 years I have been working at home. I was able to get things from, not just for me, but for my family, for my kids and all that. It has been a real blessing.
Yes.
When I was working in an office type of job, I spent 9 hours in actual work, including lunch breaks and all that, and then another 4 or 5 hours for travel. So just imagine more than half of the day I'm away from home.
Oh my gosh.
But now I get to just. There are times when I can say that I'm a little bored because I'm at home most of the time.
Yeah.
But then thinking about the hassle of just going to work in an office space. I mean, I'm really blessed to be here or to be working at home.
Because you guys live in the Manila area, and I know that would be different. So if you lived in the provinces, you probably wouldn't even have it'd be harder to have a call center job. Is that right?
There are also call center companies now in the provinces, but the thing is that they're offering, what is called a provincial rate. So they earn less as opposed to, like working here in the capital or near the capital.
Okay.
And aside from that, that has been an improvement.
Yeah.
Honestly. But then again, compensation would be a little different.
Sure.
Than compared to living in the more urban areas.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you real quick. So let's go to the traffic. Of course, you and I have talked about this many times before, but for somebody who's not familiar with, because when guys actually had an opportunity to bring Zech and his sister Rain over to the US in 2019. And that's when I first heard about the traffic issue with Manila. And so you said you had to be in, I mean, it's everybody might be different, but the hours you just said 4 to 5 hours in traffic a day. And it's not that it was a 400-mile round trip. It was literally just because the traffic is so bad.
Because of the traffic. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'd say maybe about.
How many kilometers was it to
30,
your call center?
Maybe 30 kilometers one way.
Okay.
Maybe that's 60 back and forth.
60 back and forth.
Then you're going to spend 2 or 3 hours going to work, and then maybe 2 hours going home.
Yeah. And let me ask you about what was, you don't need to tell me what you made, but what's a typical call center job pay in the Manila area per month?
I'd say here in Manila area, about 15 would be on average.
15,000 pesos.
So that's
and what's that equate to dollars?
Yep. Around $300
a month.
$300 per month. Okay. So that's like your basic pay up to maybe about 600. 600. That's you're gonna have to call yourself about, say, supervisor or a team manager, a team leader.
Okay.
That will be around that range.
Okay.
But for like a basic rank and file employee, that's gonna be 15. You're gonna be happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember when you started out with us, you weren't making that much before.
When I started with you guys, I'm only making 100. Make that 200 or 250 a month.
Yeah, 250 a month. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the provinces, a call center job in the provinces wouldn't even be 300 a month.
No, maybe about 240.
Okay.
At 240 or 200.
Yeah.
Within that range.
Yeah.
But it depends on the company as well, and it depends, I guess, on your qualifications or your experience.
Sure.
But on average, it's going to be about 240 or 12,000 pesos.
Okay. Let me so let's jump over to Jasmine for a second. Then I want to talk about real quick, just like the cost of living for a second there, because like even 300 to 600, that to us that sounds like that's really, really low because it just costs more to live here. But we'll talk about some of the prices of the things there so that people know that if they hire a Filipino VA and they pay them 400 or 500 a month, that's a really good pay, and that'll they'll be able to make a decent living with that. So Jasmine, tell me your story really quick, your work history, and all that.
Okay. My turn.
Yes.
Your turn. I am Jasmine. You can call me Jazz. Filipinos like nicknames, right? I worked in one of the distributors of Procter & Gamble here in the Philippines.
Okay.
As a key accounts executive. The job is to offer products to different supermarkets here in the Philippines and to meet a certain monthly sales target.
Mm-hmm.
And I also did real estate.
Okay.
I sold one condominium.
Nice.
One condominium unit.
Uh-huh.
But the after two what do you call that?
2 months? What?
Two executive commission.
Uh-huh.
The the client backed out. I don't know,
no.
maybe because of the pandemic.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, I got some from them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, commission.
Yeah, the commission. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it was right before I hired you. You were doing the Procter and Gamble job?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay. Interesting. And for us, you're
And
doing
then first,
social. Go ahead.
I worked with Jenny first, right? You introduced me to Jenny. Zech introduced me to you.
Yep.
And you introduced me to Jenny.
Yes. And so you're doing social media for me, for Jenny, and then we're doing some social media for the mastermind groups that I have. So Jasmine's a very good graphic designer. It's skilled at that. And just as a quick learner on pretty much anything we've ever said, hey, let's try this. So, so we talked about the traffic. Okay, real quick. Give me an idea of like some, I don't want to go into details, but like, what an apartment might cost there, a monthly rent for that, and some of the major expenses like that. So people get an idea of like, because you hear like, man, you're only paying them $400 a month. And they think like, you're ripping them off. So what's a monthly rent, an average monthly rent there?
Well, I'd say if you're near a commercial area, that's a different story. But if you're not like near a commercial area, I'd say about 5,000. That's going to be a home with one bedroom. 5,000 pesos, so about 100.
Yeah,
about $100 a month. That's going to be for the apartment. Okay. And then if you're in a commercial area, maybe add about 30%. From that, maybe somewhere around 7,000 pesos or 120.
Like $130.
Yeah, 120, 130.
Okay.
So it's going to be just for your, lodging.
Yeah.
And then for food and utilities, you're probably going to spend another 100 grand or, sorry, 100 grand is too much. $100.
$100.
Another $100. So just looking at that, you're around 230 already just for your expenses. And then what else? What other expenses? If utilities,
what about transportation? A car or a motorcycle or public transportation?
Then public transport or transportation expenses would be, I'd say, about the same amount, $100.
If you had to go to a job.
$100 for transportation, then gasoline. Yep. Okay. And that can get you back and forth.
Okay.
So if we're looking at that, about 350 or 330, it's going to be your expenses. And if you're earning $300 a month or $400 a month, you only have like a few left.
Yeah.
What if something happens? Like, in the event of like they're going to be in some sort of an emergency, or you lost a portion of your salary, right? Unfortunately, so that's going to be some sort of a problem.
Sure. Well, even Americans are that way too. People live paycheck to paycheck. They make 30 grand a year, but spend all of it or more. They get into credit card debt, and so that issue is universal. It's international. So, so somebody could live for $400 a month and make all their expenses are paid, maybe even have a little bit to save. They're not going to be wealthy, but they're going to be able to, they can live.
Yeah. They can even live well with that. Cause some people get to, grip their money really well.
Yeah. Right.
And not spend this on that or this and that, yada, yada. So earning $20 for a family of 4, perhaps is a really huge amount.
Yeah,
they're going to be really happy with that.
Yeah,
the wife can even be just a stay-at-home wife and just do all the chores and something, but still they'd be able to save. So
that's awesome.
400 for Filipinos is a huge amount already.
That's good. Yeah, just so you guys, for the people that are listening to this, our legendary VA program, our VAs the full-time VAs make around $400 a month for that, for their full-time product sourcing. And when we say full-time, we're not tracking their hours. We don't care about the hours. And we can talk about that here in a second. how you pay them, how do you know they're doing their job? So ours is more of a trust factor. It's more of a output that if they have this certain number of deals per day, we consider that full-time. Certain number of deals, a smaller amount would be, half of that would be part-time. So we typically for our full-time, correct me if I'm wrong, Zech, 10 to 15 deals a day for full-time.
Yep.
And these are online arbitrage deals. They're finding them, and mostly that's mostly clearance stuff, not replens. Those are obviously harder to find. So 10 to 15 is a full-time pay, and then 5 to 10 is part-time.
5 to 10.
And we have VAs that do that super quick, get that done in a few hours. And we have some VAs that have two and three part-time jobs. Or two and three full-time jobs. Even they can get their work done fast, and they're just really efficient at it, which I am totally fine with, because it gives them opportunity to earn more money. So yeah, but I appreciate the background on your guys' work, the traffic, the pay, all that stuff. Let's talk about how to find VA. So obviously if you're in the Legends group, we have access to the Legendary VA service, but let's talk to the folks. The vast majority of people listening to this are not in Legends right now, and that's okay. So but we want to serve them. So what are some, obviously I have some sites in mind. If somebody wants to hire a VA, and whether it's Amazon product sourcing or anything, what are some of the places that that they can go to?
Well, one of the major site for Filipino virtual assistants would be onlinejobs.ph.
Yep.
So most of them are in there, or if not all of, for Filipino VAs, about 90% or more are in onlinejobs.ph. Yeah. So one more thing would be Upwork.
Yep.
Or formerly known as Odesk.
Yep.
And Fiverr. I guess Fiverr is kind of like a mix.
Fiverr would be more for a freelancer. That's more
freelance. Yeah.
That's more like a one-time job, correct? Like a one-off job, like do this one thing and that's it. Onlinejobs.ph is more if you're wanting to hire somebody for a long-term type of deal.
For a long-term, yep. Or for some sort of a project.
Yep.
And all that.
Okay.
So one thing that really stands up in mind would be onlinejobs.ph.
Yes.
And if you're not looking directly for, if you don't want to go through onlinejobs.ph, word of mouth would be your best bet.
Yeah, because there may be let's say we're talking to Amazon sellers here for a second. You may have somebody who doesn't want to use their VA anymore. Maybe they're quitting the business, moving on to something else, and they have this stellar VA that they want to continue to make sure that they have a job. And so just post in one of any Facebook group that you're a part of with other Amazon sellers. Say, hey, I'm looking for a VA. Anybody have one that maybe needs extra work? Because that's another opportunity is, just because Zech has a full-time job, doing product sourcing for one client doesn't mean he doesn't have extra time to do something else. Cause maybe, honestly, Zech is really good at what he does. So he could easily be sourcing products for me and then have plenty of extra time throughout the day to take on a whole nother full-time client because he's good at what he does and has that time available. So find other Amazon sellers, get into groups and say, hey, I'm looking for a VA. Anybody have one that wants extra work and has time? And so there's an opportunity there, but highly recommend onlinejobs.ph. And guys, there'll be a link in the show notes or for this episode. And by the way, talking about show notes, Jasmine does that for me too with my podcast. So and it's awesome. It just takes that weight off of me and allows me to do what I do best. But onlinejobs.ph is great. So let's say, okay, so somebody goes there, they sign up for that service. And what are some tactics, tips that we can give people to find a VA? Because it's like it's almost like, an eHarmony. I don't know if you guys have eHarmony or know what that is, but it's a dating site here in the US.
No.
I'm sure you have them in the Philippines too, where if you're looking for somebody, a match or match.com, you put your profile up. So onlinejobs.ph is, you can either post a job description and say, I'm looking for this and this and this and this. Mm-hmm. And people will start flooding your inbox with hire me. Or you can also go through and I think select and talk to the one-on-one more rather than just posting a job description. You can look for people, look through their qualifications and then message them directly. But what are some tips on if you have a job ways to start attracting them? Anything about the job description you would say, or what are some tips there with? I mean, as soon as you post a job description, you're going to start getting flooded.
Right. Yep.
Any tips on that?
Well, I remember we did one time we did add some sort of an instruction on the job posting for applicants to do this. And then whenever you get like applications, if they didn't follow your instruction, and you can just, take them off the list. So that's one thing.
Yes.
And then what normally happens is that even if the person is not qualified or doesn't meet what you're looking for, they're still going to try their luck into an application.
Right.
So adding an instruction on your job posting would do wonders in terms of, what do you call it? Like weeding out the applicants.
Yeah. And what he's talking about is like literally, like, I think we've used this term before. Like,
we did
in your job description, say something like, when you reply back, use the word purple monkey in your subject line or something. So that if somebody didn't use that term, they didn't follow your instructions. So that because literally if you start posting job descriptions on these sites, you will get flooded. You'll get so many applicants because so many people want to be able to work from home, like Zech and Jasmine are able to do. And so you'll definitely get folks who aren't qualified at all, didn't even read your job description, will reply back to you. So you got to sort through those. And that's what makes our legendary VA service so cool, is because I know those problems. I've had those problems before. Like, oh my gosh, I just posted a job description. I have 25 people and I don't know anything about them. The nice thing about onlinejobs.ph is that it sorts through it. It helps you to know that these are actually real people. So it's a legitimate site that you can go to, but it's still up to you to weed through them and give them test jobs and even get on a Zoom call and interview them like you would if they were right here in person. So if we do, that's good advice to have that. Some instructions there. So let's say you weed it down from 50 down to 10. What do you guys say on what is a way to get down to that one person out of those 10? What are those next steps?
Well, most of Filipinos are, they tend to get shy. But I'd say if you can get on a Zoom call or a Skype call, or just, get on a video call with them, just so you can get to know them. And, be able to figure out that you're talking to the actual person applying to, the job posting. So that would be a good way as well to, scan through. And then maybe during that call, maybe you can just ask them one question connected to what you're looking for, just to see if they have an idea what they're applying for, even though they did follow your instruction. Yeah. So that might be just like a second way, or like a second method to, go through, or to ask that person if they know what they're applying for. So, video call or video chat would be next. And, well, you'll be able to tell if you're going to hire that person just, by talking to them. Absolutely. So that's going to be your second or even your last, step in terms of, finding someone to do a work for you.
Yeah. Would you have that, Jasmine, any other tips on that, on the weeding it down from 10 down to the 1?
Okay. I think you have to filter the applicants by if they're following the instructions first, and then if they're confident enough, if they believe in themselves. Because me myself, I'm scared. At first, I was scared, but I turned my fear into excitement and just go for it.
Right. Exactly. That's good. Was at what point do you give a test job? Do you like would you interview those 10 people first and get it down to like 3 and then give test jobs to those 3 and then select one?
Yeah, well, after your conversation or like meeting or a video call or video chat with that person, you can give them like a test job for maybe a day, about 2 or 3 days,
Okay.
But make sure to pay them for it, because that's still time that they're going to consume.
Absolutely.
But I guess that's going to be the time for you to give them a test job, and afterwards go for it. If someone turned out to be or if someone did meet what you're looking for, that's going to be the time that you can say that you can hire them.
Yeah. And so just so you know, if you guys are getting on a Zoom call, I mean, most, especially in the Manila area, most Filipinos speak English. Isn't that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because again, most virtual assistants are call center agents.
That's right.
So most of them do speak English. So
yeah, because if I talk to you guys on the phone, if I had never met either of you in person and have never seen your face, I would not. I mean, I may know that you're not from Texas, but I wouldn't. There's no way to know that you're not from the U.S. I mean, yes, you might have a slight accent, but how many Americans? There's so many Americans that do too. You don't. They might be from a different heritage and still have an accent, and so you just wouldn't know. You guys speak great English, and so that's, if you're looking for somebody who speaks good English, Filipinos are great for writing English. They're great for that too, and so it really depends on what you're looking for. Yeah, and you don't have to have Skype calls going forward. You definitely want to get to know that person at the beginning to hire them. But in that communication back and forth every day, it doesn't have to be a Zoom call.
Doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I'm on the call with you guys at least once a week, usually, with that meeting that we have on Mondays. But then after that, it's usually just text back and forth on Skype, which makes it easy. So. All right. So pay, we've talked a little bit about the Amazon product sourcing. I think I've heard anywhere starting out like $250 to $400 a month. That range is probably a good range for paying somebody for Amazon product sourcing, depending on the number of deals they're finding. And hire other jobs like graphic design, something more specialized might be a little bit higher. And onlinejobs.ph can help out with that. They will give you some guidance on what to pay. Obviously, you want to make sure it's a win-win. Real quick, let's talk about the 13th month. What is the 13th month?
Okay. Well, the 13th month is a government mandated benefit for Filipino employees. Mm-hmm. So it is taken from an employee's average for the whole year, which gave the term of 13 months. So, say for example, your employee started working for you, or an employee started working in the middle of March. So his or her earning from March up until the end of the year would be computed on average, and that amount would then be the 13-month pay. So that's if we're going to compare that to what you guys in the US are having as some sort of like your Christmas bonus.
Yes.
So it's kind of like the same thing, but but here in the Philippines, I don't know, it's kind of different, because some companies do give Christmas bonuses, but then they still give 13-month pays.
Wow, that's nice.
So that's kind of different. So it depends on the company.
Yeah. So it's essentially a whole extra month of pay. So if somebody worked for 12 straight months for you, then you'd give them an extra month. If they worked 6 months, then it would be essentially half of a month of a pay, right? Well,
it's going to be an average. So if they worked for 6 months, 6 months would then be divided into 12.
Yeah.
So that would be their 13 month.
Yeah.
So
and it's not mandated. So as an American hiring you guys, I don't have to pay you that. It's not like the Filipino government's going to come after me if I don't.
Yep.
But I know that if I want happy people, that's what you've expected. You've had that in your previous jobs. And so, that's just something that you just become accustomed to. And so if I didn't pay you that, I mean, I'm sure you'd probably still continue to work for me because you are able to work from home and there's other benefits. But most people who hire VAs, most Americans who hire VAs are paying that 13th month.
Right.
And
they're aware of it.
Yep. Yeah. You definitely should.
Some are even asking about it.
Yeah.
They haven't even, hired a VA, but they're going to ask, do you guys pay 13-month pay to your VAs?
Exactly.
So yeah, a lot of, Americans who have hired VAs before are, accustomed to that as well. So again, just like what Ryan mentioned, it's you're not required to pay that, but that's gonna make your VA really happy, especially during Christmas time.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you want to keep them happy. If you find a good one, you want to hang on to them, and so you want to build that relationship with them. And they're at some point they're going to leave, or you're going to do something different in your business, and that relationship will probably end. But as long as you're you find a good one, you want to keep them. That's all. Because the hiring and finding somebody, that's a time-consuming, can be grueling process. And that's why the purpose of this podcast, I want to make sure people understand what's required and what you can do. It's not, anybody can do it. It's just, it takes some time to get those applications, to weed through it, to have those interviews and decide on which one to go with. And even after that, it may not be a perfect fit. You may be doing that, a couple months afterwards, because that employee quits on you, doesn't decide they don't like to do that job, or whatever reason, it's just not a fit between the two of you. So if you find a good one, hang on to them for sure. How do you guys typically? I pay you guys all with PayPal. Is that the one way that is kind of most universally used? Is PayPal?
Yeah, the safest one, I think.
Safest and more common.
Yeah.
Because PayPal. Well, with PayPal, Filipino VAs can then link their bank accounts to it.
Yeah.
So once you send a payment to PayPal, the VA can then just withdraw the amount straight to their bank accounts. So that's one way, or one merchant. And then you have Payoneer.
Yes, Payoneer.
And
I've done Wells Fargo
there's
too.
There's a lot more. Yep, or Zoom as well. But
Zoom
is kind of,
that's right.
Yep, XOM. But that's also PayPal. So, and that's another option. But with that, you can either send it directly, like kind of a door-to-door service, or you can have them claim it at a partner establishment. But I think the charge, or what you have to pay, is kind of like the same if you send it through PayPal. But that's another option. But then again, the most commonly used merchant or application would be PayPal.
Yeah. And it depends on the fee. Like if I know that if I send like you guys like $100 or something, it may only be like $2 fee, but if it's like over a certain amount, it's like $4.99. And so just a little tip, if you guys are paying, anybody you're listening are paying several VAs, you should think about, if you have one VA that you can trust to like disperse that for you. So in our organization with Legendary VAs, we've moved to where all of it, every single week's payroll goes to one VA, the payroll VA that it's Zech's sister, that goes to her PayPal. So I only have one $4.99 transaction, and then she pays it to everybody else. And that's been a huge, it saves us probably about $100 and some a month, which is not a lot, but it's still, that's significant over a year. And so you want to pay that as, think about maybe having one VA that you pay, and then they just disperse it to the rest. That'll save you that $5. But most people are only paying one, and so it's not a big deal.
Yep. And before I forget, the $4.99 is actually if you send the money using the option to friends and family, or send it to friends and family. But if you're sending that as a payment, that's a different story. It's going to charge you even more. Yeah, I'm sending it to
you as a friend and family, so there's no PayPal the only fee is that $4.99 fee. If I send it to you as a contractor, I would send you $100, and you may only get like 95 or something. Yeah, and then you still have to then deal with the even with the 95, you'd still have that the exchange rate that PayPal usually takes a cut of too, because the exchange rates on PayPal aren't the same as if I was in your country given $100, and then it's lower. Yep. Oh, okay. That's a different story. I don't know what's up with PayPal, but that's how they do it. Right. Exactly. Well, they got to make money too. It's a service, and it's a blessing to be able to have that, to be able to, otherwise totally. I don't want to be sending cash in the mail or something. So, okay, let's talk about how, obviously with the way we set up Legendary VAs, there's not like a time tracking service. We don't take screenshots. I know there's some software out there that if I was concerned that you two weren't doing your job, it could take a screenshot every so often and make sure you're actually, working and not, doing something else during working hours. I don't do that. I understand maybe at the beginning of a relationship, you may feel like that's needed to make sure that the person's doing. For us, it's always been about making sure that the project gets done, that the output happens. If I give you something that I think should take 4 hours and it takes you 4 days, well, there's obviously you're probably not doing something right. But
Right.
for the most part, every single project is like, I'll give Jasmine something to do that I think she'll take 2 days and she comes back in 4 hours and it's done. And that amazes me. But for us, it's just a trust factor. You guys probably appreciate that, but we built that trust too. So, but let's talk about, let's say, for example, I just have met you guys. I want to hire you for a job. And I feel like there needs to be some type of time tracking or accountability there. What are some software that you guys have heard of, or how would somebody find that stuff online? Just Google time tracking or what?
Yeah, just Google it. I guess one application I heard of is Time Doctor, but I haven't really tried it.
Okay.
Because since I started working at home, there's no time tracking device, which made me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Honestly, with what I'm doing, because I know someone isn't looking at it while I'm working.
Right.
it's like having a supervisor walking around.
Exactly.
Just standing at your back and what are you doing?
Yeah, because what happens because you're into sports. So what happens if while you're doing something for me, you happen to go check a sports score and it takes a screenshot right there, and I'm like, Zech's watching sports when he's supposed to be working. But all you were just on there for 3 seconds.
Right. Or maybe you're just waiting for a page to load and it's taking a while, and you decided to just look at this one.
Right.
And just in time, you got screenshots.
Right.
When you have that page up. So, as a VA, I understand, the need to have, or to be sure that your VA is doing what they're supposed to be doing with, the amount you're paying them, or with the hours that you're paying them.
Right.
But that's where the trust comes into play.
Yeah.
Because, again, just like what I mentioned, if I know someone is looking at me or someone is looking at what I'm doing, that tends to, gets me concerned that if I missed something, but then I know I can repair it or do something about it.
Right.
But then I got screenshot that, oops. So that's it's like, oh no.
Right.
But then again, it's understandable to have some sort of a monitoring software. But then again, maybe just during the first couple months, and then afterwards, in that span of time, you'd be able to get to know the VA you're working with. So afterwards, maybe you can just take it off. But then again, if you have the need for it, there's a lot in Google that you can look for. Do a Google search.
Yep. Just Google time tracking software, virtual assistant, or VA. You'll find something. But I just have found I don't really feel the need to have that. And it's like, I would know if something's not happening because of, I paid for 10 to 15 deals a day and I got 2. What's going on? Obviously something's not right. He's not getting it or whatever. I would say the big thing is just having an interaction with your VA. The more you build that relationship, the better it's going to be. If you're hiring them for a sourcing type of position where they're sourcing deals for you for online arbitrage, have a spreadsheet that you can. In fact, we probably can maybe share the one. We'll talk about that. Maybe we can share the one that we use, a template. Okay. Post it in the show notes. But it gives you opportunity for feedback. So if I can go through and be like and say, this is not good for whatever. There's a drop down area for, this is out of stock, or doesn't match or whatever. And so provide that feedback for your VA, because they'll get better and better, but you got to invest that time into them to make them better. And if they've never sourced online before, it's a learning curve. You just realize that you didn't learn your Amazon business overnight, and so it's going to take them time as well to do it. But work with them. If you find one, I would say it comes down to find one who's willing to learn, who's teachable, who's humble, who works hard. You can teach them to do pretty much anything, and just give them that time and be patient with them, and let them learn the job. If you feel like, this is going to work out long-term for you. And if you have to sever that relationship, that's okay. Just do it respectfully. And it's probably, if they're not doing a good job, they're probably not enjoying it either. And so, give them the grace to go find something that's more like in line with their skill set.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's talk about types of jobs. So obviously Amazon sourcing is one we all hear about, and that's something that we train people how to do in our legendary VA service. But besides Amazon sourcing and outbound and inbound calls, what are some other things that you guys have heard other VAs being able to do work from home type jobs with?
Well, you can go. Yeah.
I was looking online and I'm looking for a job for my daughter. So I found out more on video editing, like what I do.
Yep.
Graphic designing, but they're more professional. So what else?
Customer
social
service.
media managing.
Social media
like
managing. Yep.
Transcriptionist.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Transcriptions.
And encoders.
Yep.
Something like that. I don't know much about it.
Yeah, there's actually a lot. Well, everything that can be done in an office type of setting can be done at home as well.
That's right.
Because a lot of, if not everyone, most of us use a computer or cell phones or mobile phones. So everything that can be done in an office type of setting can be done at home as well with the use of internet.
That's right.
So anything you can think of, as long as it's online, that can be done at home, or you can outsource that.
Right.
It's kind of like, answering emails for you, doing customer service.
Yep.
Or even chat support kind of service that can be done as well. So basically everything that you can think of that can be done online can be, a work that a VA can do.
Totally agree with you. As far as Amazon is related, we got the product sourcing, you got the back end Amazon account management. You've got the, I know that, we want to talk about the other stuff too, which we did, but, Amazon related stuff, the Amazon account management, back end stuff, creating listings, finding suppliers, wholesale suppliers, finding private label opportunities, data entry, anything like that. I mean, literally, we have obviously your sister does recruiting for our VA service, does our payroll. I mean, you need a project manager, you need somebody to run your whole company. I mean, literally you could find somebody to do it. And, it's a beautiful opportunity to provide a job for somebody that wants to work from home and to get, get somebody good for your company as well. So, yeah. And of course, social media, you mentioned social media. Jasmine and I are working with my mastermind group to put together a test case for one VA, being her, running 4 social media accounts and posting on, taking their core content like a podcast or maybe a book or ebook or lead magnets and creating social media posts throughout the day for them. So we'll see how that goes. But I know, all that's pretty much anything you need in your business, VA could do for you. So interacting. Right. So we talked about this for a second, and then I'll think of anything else that you guys think we should cover. But interacting with you guys, we do Skype, Facebook Messenger. I would say having that interaction, that instant communication for when you guys need an answer, you can send me messages on Skype, and assuming it's my daytime hours, I get back pretty quickly. Any advice there on communicating with the VA?
Just communication. Well, there's a lot. Some are using WhatsApp. So some are using, just emails. But in terms of instant messaging, it would be Skype or WhatsApp. WhatsApp is more common in the US.
Yes, that's right. What are real quick? We didn't talk about the working hours, like when you guys.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So you guys keep crazy late hours. I'll message you at 2 p.m. here, which is 3 a.m. your time, and you're still up answering my question. And I don't expect you to get back to me until late the next day. But do you feel like is it okay if I wanted you guys to work during my daytime hours, which would be your nighttime, because you are 13 hours ahead of Central Time? Is that normal for a VA to work in the middle of the night?
Well, that's pretty much normal, especially if we take into consideration the virtual assistants nowadays who came from a call center type of setting. Yeah. So they're awake during the nighttime here in the Philippines, which is the daytime in the US.
Right.
So that's pretty much normal.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it all comes down to you if you would like your VA to work the same hours as you are, or if you're okay with them doing the work during their daytime, and then for you just to, check it during your daytime as well.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of adapting to it or adjusting the hours, pretty much, yep, Filipinos or VAs can do that.
Yeah. I find,
but if you would like your VA to be, more comfortable with, with working, you might want to ask them if they would like to do it during the nighttime or during the daytime.
Yeah, because like for most of the stuff that we do, it doesn't matter when it gets done. I don't care if you work during my day hours or not. I want you to work when you want to work, and that works out well for our job. If I did have a call center, well, I understand. Yeah, I might need you to be making calls at between 8 and 5, and that's middle of the night for you guys. But for our types of services, our jobs with Legendary VAs, I don't care when they work, and so that gives you guys the flexibility to work when you want to. So that's good. Okay. Any other thoughts or things about just tips for somebody if you were talking to somebody about hiring a VA? Anything you can think of that we didn't cover that you hear them ask?
Oh, I just remembered, aside from onlinejobs.ph, there's a lot of Facebook groups now who have a lot of virtual assistants or with virtual assistants looking for, clients or looking for work and vice versa. So there's a lot of Facebook groups for people looking for a VA. Yeah. So you might want to check that out. You can simply search groups in Facebook. So that's another thing aside from onlinejobs.ph. And going back to additional tips would be, again, just know what you're looking for and know your expectations. So expectations would be the pay, like how much do you think VA is worth in a monthly basis for this kind of job, or like the number of hours that you think you would require from that person from a VA. So I guess just to set your expectations as well, and set the VAs or the possible VAs expectations. Yeah,
that's good. We didn't. One quick thing we didn't cover. We talked about we talked about the monthly pay. We usually pay bi-weekly. You guys usually get paid twice in a month because of just unless there's a 5-week month, sometimes you might get paid 3 times. But and then it's a flat salary. Now I know some people might pay per hour, and that's okay too. Just take the what a normal monthly pay might be and divide it by the number of hours. But usually between $2 and $5 an hour, somewhere
$2 and $5. Yep.
Depending on the job, of course. And also you can pay people by project. So even though Jasmine does, for me, for example, she'll do something like she has a salary on part of my business. I may say, hey, I'll give you $50 to do this project. And that's a project she gets done in a few hours or a few days. I don't really know, but it's, you can do the per project basis or a long-term or any kind of number of scenarios in between. So, but just work with the VA. Another thing I might say is you guys are typically, now you guys are more bold because you've learned from me, but VA might be, you mentioned being shy. So they may not tell you if they don't like something or they don't want to upset you. They don't want to offend you. And so you might want to ask them, hey, how's it going? Anything I can, just know that they may be slow to ask for things. They may be slow to ask for help if they need help with their job. If they're not understanding something, they may be slow to ask for help. And so if they're not performing the way you feel like they should be, just reach out and say, hey, what's up? How can I help you learn this? And just be respectful, but they might be slow to ask for a pay raise. So, make sure that, you're paying them equivalent to what, you should be, and not taking advantage of them. And rather than say they're unhappy, they may just quit and not show up anymore. And so you don't want that to happen. If you've invested hours and hours and hours into somebody and, all they need is a $50 a month raise or something, make sure that you pay them commensurate with what the job does. And especially if they hear other VAs making a certain amount and they're way below that can hurt too. So just have that conversation, open relationship with them. Make sure you're communicating. And that's the same with any job, though. It's just make sure you're communicating with folks.
Yeah. Most of them would just be shy at first, but as soon as you, get a good working relationship, so they might be more comfortable in telling you stuff or, asking you questions and all that.
Right.
So it's expected to be it's expected to be like that at first.
Sure.
But as you go along, that's going to get better.
Yep.
One thing that I always advise our current clients for Legendary VA service is that whenever they ask a question like what should they expect or how should they go forward, one thing that I always tell them is just communicate with your VA. Just let them know what you think about their work.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the same thing. It's the same thing that I tell the VA. I mean, if you're having a hard time with what you're doing, if things are a little different than what you expected, just reach out and maybe you can just meet at the middle,
right,
and see what works for you and what works for your client. So again, communication is the key into having a good working relationship, especially that you guys are on the other side of the world. So that's always a good way to start, and that's gonna get you a long way.
Yes. Yeah, and build that relationship. I mean, I know you guys and me have a different relationship. We've met you in person, and so it makes a difference. We get personal with stuff. We have to joke around about stuff. We talk about food, and it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, it could be more of a serious business relationship if you prefer. I'm just a personal guy, so I enjoy getting to know my VAs and them personally and their families and what their life is like. And Zech will show me around his neighborhood with his phone, and I like that. That stuff is interesting to me, but I think it'd be also okay if it was more like, this is business. We keep it business-like. But my personality, I enjoy learning about what your life is like. And that's fun for me. So
exactly.
Jasmine, any other tips or advice you would say?
For the VAs, just discipline yourself. That applies to focusing on your task and setting goals every day or every week that you have.
How about for the Americans looking for a VA? Do you have any tips for them?
I strongly believe with open communication, like what we have, Ryan.
That's good.
Whatever.
It's kind of Miss Universe kind of answer.
No.
I strongly believe.
That was a great answer. Miss Universe answer. Oh my gosh. No, that's a great, it's so true. Open communication is huge.
Because that's what we have, Ryan. If I don't know anything, you just send me some video tutorials, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one. Oh, we didn't cover that real quick. Let's standard operating procedures and giving them instructions. So I do a lot of screenshot videos. I have a tool that does that called Searchy, but that's more of an expensive type of software. There's this free tool called Loom, Loom, that you can record your screen. So if you're trying to give instructions, it's way better to do a video and show them how to do it. You may even have your VA then take that video and put it into a standard written operating, we call it standard operating procedures, a written document. Because I love you guys, but I know that there may be some day when you decide to do something different. And that's, I know with it, with our Legendary VA service, with our core team, we've had them put together like a list, standard operating procedure of their job, so that if they decide to move on, we can hand that, say, here's what Zech did. So you know exactly what to do. But having those detailed instructions and video works really, really well for that, to be able to communicate what those instructions are, so they can do the job well. So
and they can play it over and over. So if they got confused at first, they can just go back to it.
That's what I do.
Yeah, and even just get on a Zoom call and share your screen and explain it in real time. We've done that before for YouTube.
That also works.
And that's another thing, because Filipinos may be typically shy. They may not, like we said, they may be slow to ask for that help or to ask for clarification. So make sure they understand the job. But just that's where the open communication will work wonders. So, cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for doing this. I hope this helps a lot of folks learn how to think about expanding their business using a virtual assistant and the win-win that's created there. And so appreciate all you do. Thanks for being on the team.
Yep, you're very welcome. Happy to be on a team.
Yes. All right, see you later.
You've been listening to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger. From right here in the Dallas Metroplex, Ryan teaches several entrepreneurial courses and group coaching programs to students all over the world. Be sure to listen next week at the same time for Streams of Income with Ryan Rieger.